Hello, welcome to Spotlight on Souris. My name is Laura Higgs, and today is January 18th, 2024. I have with me today Duane Davison, who is the mayor of the Souris and Glenwood Municipality, and he's here to give us an update on the things that are happening. Welcome, Duane.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, so what is happening in Souris, and what's been your top priority, and what are maybe some of the things you're working on?
I'm turning my phone down right now.
Oh, that's good. That's appreciated. Thank you.
Oops. Well, it's been we spoke not that long ago, and there were several things that we accomplished last year, but it's been a good year. But there's a few things I wanted to talk about. There's a group of us in the Southwest region, municipal representatives have been going in. We've had several trips to Winnipeg and been fortunate enough to visit with ministers and deputy ministers, and there's some things we've been kind of working on, and one of the ones we mentioned before was the MFR EMR thing. It's medical first responder and emergency medical responder.
Right.
And the issue is that these guys are able to attend to accident scenes and stuff when there's no ambulance available. A lot of them would be volunteer firefighters, and the College of Paramedics has changed the rules, or is looking to change the rules. And so these people aren't able to do what they want to do. The EMR thing, EMRs could actually drive an ambulance and be on board with a PCP, which is a primary care paramedic, which would basically, if we could have EMRs do that, we'd double up the number of ambulances we could have. So it's been a fight, apparently, with the College of Paramedics, but we're getting some potential positive news on that. We'll see. It sounds like that there's been some movement on that, so we're hoping in the next little while there'll be some movement, and it'll benefit our whole region. Well, it'll benefit the whole province, but our region especially.
Yeah. Well, rural Manitoba, we suffer in that area.
We suffer,
for sure.
And as you know, the ambulances could be in Winnipeg on a patient transfer, and there could be an accident out here, and you could wait an hour.
That's right.
Typically, you're waiting 30 to 45 minutes if you're out in the rural areas anyway.
Already.
Mm-hmm. And obviously the volunteer fire departments, if it was an MVA or something like that, they'd be there right away. And so it's big for us if we can get that. Mm-hmm. The other thing we've got potential positive news on, we've been talking lots about, they took away a lot of provincial offices, particularly MASC offices, the AG offices. And I don't know if it's happening for sure, but at least they're listening to us. They're acknowledging that we'd like to have some of these back, and there's a potential that there might be a couple or three in Western Manitoba somewhere, and that could be from, Swan River down to the border. We're not sure where, but they're at least acknowledging that it's something perhaps we could have, and so it'd be nice if down the road that would take place. But it seems to me that they're hearing our voices, hearing what we're saying, and that's obviously that's a whole provincial thing as well. But we're looking for this part of the province. Mm-hmm. Another thing we've talked a lot about is illegal drainage, fines and enforcement. And again, we're hearing positive things on that. The fines for illegal drainage were in the low hundreds of dollars, and that's that's not a deterrent for anybody, quite frankly. Farmers.
It doesn't deter them.
No, it's a big business. Farming's a big business, and that kind of stuff doesn't deter them. Mm. So we've been hoping that they would increase the fines, and there's talk of it. We've talked to the previous government, and they were positive about it. This government now is positive as well. Of course, it's agriculture and justice, and again, we're hearing positive feedback. I'm hoping that's going to change. Good. But the secondary part to that is obviously enforcement.
Right.
You can make the fines $1 million if there's nobody to enforce it, then it's no good. So again, we obviously have been hoping and talking to them about getting more water resource officers, and I think it's like every other business, they're short of people. So if we can get that, then we're making. But again, they're hearing what we're saying, they appreciate what we're saying, and we're hopeful that there'll be some movement on that. Another thing, conservation officers. There's of course we're short of them as well. Uh-huh. And they're working on that. Part of the reason we're short of conservation officers is other provinces pay more. And so we're training conservation officers here at at the up in the Paw College in the North, and they're graduating here and going to other
And
provinces.
leaving,
Yeah.
are they? Okay.
So they're working on that, and then they're working on, Saskatchewan does this already. They're working on giving the conservation officers more powers. So they can do like more actually policing as opposed to just
Okay.
hunters and poaching and that kind of thing.
Right.
So that would be a benefit for our area as well. So a lot of this is regional, and actually affects the whole province. But we've been talking to them a lot about that, and it's really, really encouraging that they're listening to us. And it appears that on a few of these matters, for sure, we've had an effect. So it's pretty nice. We talked before about the Community Safety Officer Program, which is there's a lot of towns that have that. Most of them have a local police force that they work in conjunction with. But they do bylaw enforcement, they'll do traffic enforcement. They can even, I think, do driving under the influence and that kind of stuff. They take care of a lot of the things that the RCMP probably don't have time to do for the most part. And so we were reluctant to do that here because we're concerned about a couple of things. And one was, we thought that if a community safety officer had some issues, got into a confrontation, that there wouldn't be any support for him. We spoke to the police chief we went to the Association of Manitoba Municipalities Convention at the end of November, and we spoke to the police chief from St. Anne, and he said that's not an issue. It's just, so these guys they're not trained to do that kind of thing, and they know if it appears it's going to escalate at all, they just jump in their cars and they get out of there. They make a call to the police, and that's great. Secondary, more important part to the AMM piece, we had a meeting with the RCMP, and they're fully on board with this program. They're willing to work with these community safety officers. They don't want to direct them. They're not going to report to them, but they encourage them, and they're going to work with them. And so we're going to look into getting a community safety officer. There's going to be a cost to that, obviously. It's you're paying a body,
Right.
but it'd be nice to get the quads off the streets and.
That still leaves us as a town responsible for that person, though.
Yeah. Traffic enforcement, bylaw enforcement, which we're lacking, a bunch of things, and they can run the roads and do traffic enforcement. They can go, and maybe it's something we'd share with other neighboring communities. I'm not sure. We haven't got that far yet, but it's something we're looking into for sure. I think it's needed. Obviously, we talked before about the RCMP presence, and it's lacking. And it's not a reflection of the individual members. It's a reflection of the fact that they're sorely short-staffed.
Yeah. They're short-staffed like a lot of other areas are.
Exactly. Exactly. Every business has a help wanted sign in the window.
Healthcare is short. Police are short.
Yeah, it's just the reality. So if we can, hopefully then we can get these community safety officers, get some some local people involved with that.
Right.
And some of them may go on to take some more training and become an actual police officer. Who knows? So that's kind of things we're doing on a regional basis, more of a big picture thing. This community safety officer, I think, like I say, it might just be for us, but it might be for us in neighboring communities. We share them, I'm not sure. And then as far as what we've done around town, we've completed finally, just before Christmas, the culvert installation, the Denning Bridge, we call it out by Denning's Farm on Road 46 North on the northeast part of the municipality, got done and it's opened up again just before Christmas. We've started the Crescent Avenue East, the bank stabilization there. I don't know if you've noticed any.
Oh, okay.
Probably didn't notice because most of the stuff's down in the park right now. They're doing construction down there.
Sure.
So that's started. That's a disaster financial assistance project, and it'll be done. Well, it'll be done into the spring. It'll take probably 3 months right now to do the dirt work and all that. But then obviously, once the snow is gone, we've got to replant grass, replant trees. There's a whole bunch of cosmetic work to do after that. Another thing we're looking at is, and it's necessary, the water plant. We're going to get a pre-filter system for the water plant, which has been a long time coming. And what that'll do, like right now we have a reverse osmosis system in there, and our membranes are very expensive. They're tens of thousands of dollars to a complete change out.
Wow.
And they're lasting maybe 3 years. And the hope is with a pre-filter system we can get 8 to 12 years out of them. So pretty easy to pencil out the payback on the pre-filter system.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're looking at that, and they're changing the chlorine setup there as well. Going to do a liquid injector as opposed to a powdered system. So that's obviously fairly important. Drinking water is fairly important to the community.
Hugely important, yeah.
Another thing we didn't mention before, I'm going to mention it now. We went through last year. The municipality has been constantly buying graders, keeping them for 5 years. When they get off warranty, they get rid of them, buy another grader, and keep it on warranty. And we did the math and decided that didn't make, in our opinion, a lot of sense. So we didn't buy a new grader last year, which saved us several $100,000. And we're going to keep the grader, maintain it, and we're fairly confident we're not going to be putting out the money in repairs that we're putting out in payments on an annual basis. Did the same thing. We bought a tractor for the municipality to mow grass, and we did, rather than tendering for a new one, we bought a used one with low hours and saved, again, a significant amount of money. So now going forward, the excavator we had literally just, it fell apart. It's done. So we have to get a new excavator, but it's not a new excavator. It's going to be a used excavator, and we just put that on Merck's yesterday. So that's going to be, it's going to be a bit of an outlay, but in relative terms compared to what the grader and tractor would have cost, it's not significant.
Still not over the top.
And it's, again, we don't use enough to justify buying new. We're going to try and buy a good used one with reasonably low hours. And we hope to have that in the next several weeks. Where the tender, the request for quotes is done at the end of the month, so hopefully we'll have something by the middle of February. We have a demographic issue I think we talked about before. We have people retiring in the office. We have to hire people to take their place, and the goal is to hire them, have extra staff to start with so they can get trained up and have a bit of a overlap before
yes.
and so that's starting already. There's one leaving in March, one leaving in June. There's several more that are going to be able to be leaving in the next year and a half.
That's a lot of knowledge going out the door, isn't it?
That's the biggest issue is the history,
Yeah.
And you can't replace that.
That's
You
exactly
just
right.
can't. So and then we go to the bigger challenges, and we had actually a public information meeting about this a couple months ago. We got and we talked about it briefly. The bridges west of town. I think we talked about it in November as well.
We did, yeah.
There's a bit of an update on the bridges. We've got another firm involved now to kind of do another assessment. This firm specializes in repairing bridges, because I don't know if you recall when we spoke before, the previous firm recommended some repairs on these bridges, and we asked, well, if we do the repairs, will they be able to handle the loads that we require? And they said no. So there's no point doing the repairs.
Right.
Otherwise, right. So then they recommended new bridges. Well, new bridges is a significant outlay of capital. So this other firm, they specialize in repairing bridges, and they think that they can repair them up to the standards we need. So, excuse me. So they're
And is this a company in
Manitoba.
In Manitoba,
Yeah.
okay. That's good to hear.
Interesting enough, it's a gentleman that used to work for another firm, and he couldn't figure out why they kept replacing bridges when they could probably just fix them. And it's become kind of they do new as well. They do a lot of things, but they're in the process right now. They're hoping they're going to reassess the bridges, but they're hoping to actually start to repair the bridge immediately west of town, on the very first road west, the one on the south side of the highway. Hope to have it repaired prior to seeding, and then start on one of the bridges on the north side, yet to be determined, but probably the one on the 4 Mile Road, and get that up to snuff shortly thereafter, depending on how much work's required.
Great.
So it's still going to be a cash outlay, but significantly less than, potentially $2 million
Starting
per
from
bridge.
new, yeah.
So,
That's right.
so that's actually very positive. So the last thing I want to talk about is rather a big deal, and we're talking about we mentioned it before, the community hall.
Right.
When it was built in 1981, opened in early '82, standalone building. Then this complex was built and attached there in 1995. And literally since the time it was attached, there's been issues with where it joins issues. There's water leaking. The first 3 purlins on that hall roof, the hall was never built to have a 20-foot wall beside it where snow drops in and piles up.
Ah, okay.
So snow load's an issue, and it's been an issue forever. That's why that funny little extra roof piece is there.
Right.
Those purlins aren't designed to hold that load. And so there's potential there, and it hasn't happened. The potential's there that if we had a big snow event and we couldn't get up there to shovel that, there's potential the roof could fail.
Really?
So that's significant. There's been water ingress in various spots for 28 years, and various councils in the past have looked at this. Everybody's been aware of it, but there's been engineering studies done. There's been a ton of things done. There's been stopgap measures done. There's this extra roof's been done, and it's always a decision that's made. The dollar value is always it's daunting, and so and they make decisions based on the information at the time, and they've been trying kind of stopgaps, and nothing really is actually working because we still have the issue with water, and there's ice dams, there's stuff, there's water went in the wall, there's gyp rock on the north wall here. They've replaced gyp rock, I believe. It's just an ongoing problem. It's never going to go away, and so we decided that we had to do something about it, and so we looked into. We got a firm to come out and do a cost-benefit analysis on. The fact of the matter is, it's a 41-year-old building. So to do a cost-benefit analysis on affecting repair versus replacing the hall. And so when they were done, there were several solutions that had been proposed several years ago, and they looked at all the solutions, and all of them worked. They had varying degrees of I don't know if it was confidence, but they liked some more than others, and there's some proposals there that could fix it. It would involve cutting the roof like 30 feet out of the roof, then making a flat roof that goes around the side, and there's a bunch of stuff, reinforcing, obviously, for snow load. Significant cost, though. And then they gave us a cost for replacing the building as it is, and the cost of repair is about 2/3 or close to it of the cost of new, the exact same building. So, our thoughts are, personally, my thought is it doesn't make a lot of sense to put what would be a significant down payment on a new building, repairing an old building, and they expect we get maybe 15, 20 years out of it if we did that. So then the next 40 miles from that is looking at what we have now. When that hall was built, it was built as a standalone hall. There's a rink across there.
Yeah.
Now we have this complex here, and this complex is unbelievable. It's been great for the community. It's got all kinds of events. We've got hockey tournaments, we've got big bonds, pills, all kinds of things. So now, if you look at it notionally, forget that hall's there. If we're gonna, with this complex, if we were gonna build something there, what would it look like? And it wouldn't look like that hall, in my opinion. It would be something vastly different. It'd be something that would complement this building. It'd be something perhaps with a walking track and a room for gymnastics. We have gymnastics down in the hall every day. It might have perhaps a small gym, a small training center for the hockey teams. Who knows what it could have. And quite frankly, of course, the dollar value goes up, but you could go right from this wall, which gives us probably another 20 feet or more, right back to the current clinic. It would be a significant footprint. So we gotta imagine what we want the complex to look like. In that addition to the complex, we'll put a hall. So what I'm saying is we're not looking at building a new hall, we're looking at expanding the complex and including a hall. And I think we have to look at it as an opportunity for the community that's gonna benefit the community for hopefully 60, 80, 100 years out. We expect this building to last that long. What do we want this building to look like? So obviously the next steps to that is we have to have some public meetings and get some public input on what the people in the community want to see. And my hope is that a lot of folks that are here tonight, actually, whether their kids are playing hockey, people with young kids, those are the people that have to decide what they want this to look like going forward, right? It's not for somebody my age. It's for them, their kids, their grandkids.
That's right.
So we need input from them, and hopefully we can get them involved in whatever we decide to do, as far as fundraising or whatever. Personally, I think it's an easy sell. It's an opportunity for us to make this a pretty impressive place, and it's going to benefit the community. The province believes in our community. They just spent a ton of money enhancing our ER department and our hospital. So obviously our hospital is going to stay open, and they've committed to that. We've got a fine school. We've got a good complex. If we can enhance what we have, it's going to make it a more desirable place to live. Half hour from Brandon. It wouldn't hurt to have it just to encourage more families to move here. So what started out as a problem and perhaps a challenge, I think it's turned into an opportunity, and I think it's something that it can be pretty exciting going forward. So that's That's the biggest thing we're going to deal with, and that's going to be the most controversy as far as there's going to be some pushback. There'll be some naysayers, but like I said, I have in my mind what I think it might look like, but it's not going to be up to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
So.
you've got a lot more steps to get in there before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You need to, if you're talking about taking 2/3 of the amount to repair it and then the full amount to replace what's there, but if you're talking about extending the complex, the cost might be a little bit more than that.
Significantly more.
Yeah.
Significantly more.
So, yeah.
But it's a whole different thing. We're not just going to build a square room.
Right.
Right? Which is pretty much what that is.
Right. Which was what you were talking about, the 2/3 and the full amount of the square room.
Yeah, it's going to be significant.
Okay.
And the numbers are frightening, but I mean, the numbers are frightening when you go to the grocery store these days. Everything's gone up in price.
True. True that.
What
What about our kitchen back there?
that's put on hold because of this.
Okay.
And it was put on hold because
Okay.
back in the fall was when we hired the consulting firm, the engineering firm, to do this cost benefit analysis. So the kitchen thing's been on hold since. So we actually had a Parks and Rec meeting the other night, and they're gonna see if because there was a grant available, and the grant was obviously this construction and renovation,
Right.
and then appliances. So we're gonna see if we can just use some of the grant money to purchase new appliances and set them aside, or if they can defer the grant, or what needs to be done.
Right, okay.
And there was one suggestion that somebody had been talking to the province prior to, and they said, well, if you're not gonna do the kitchens, there's some other major project in the complex you could do to use that grant money. If it comes down to that, I'm pretty sure, because this building's 20 years old, I'm pretty sure that we could find somewhere to put that money in the
Sure.
complex.
Sure.
For sure. So again, it depends on what the community says. It's not up to myself, not even up to council. This is a major project, and it's looking way past when I'm going to still be around, and so it has to be others that
Right.
collectively decide what it's going to look like.
What's the goal for the public meeting? Is it going to be the summer? Is
We
it gonna be-
haven't decided that. We were talking about waiting until kind of people from down south were back, so kind of looking into April.
Okay.
And hitting between that and seeding.
Oh, yeah, because then the farmers and everybody will be really
Yeah,
busy and
and-
stuff. Okay,
The young people that we're talking about that have to drive this thing are mostly around right now. But quite frankly, the people that were involved in building this in the first place, people have got this community where it's two. A lot of them are down south right now, and they need to be involved as well.
sure.
So
Okay.
we'd like them to all be able to come.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. We'll have you back in again to tell us more about the public meeting and when it's happening, and we'll make sure that gets announced, okay?
There'll be more than one public meeting, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sure, but we got to start someplace, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming in and
Well, thanks for
sharing with
having me
us. Yeah, you bet. Thank you for joining us here at Spotlight in Souris. Stay warm, everybody.